welcome back to another Maize Plus video, and this is going to be what I think is the most complete guide that I can give you to customizing feeding with animals with Maize Plus. We are going to cover what goes into the individual sliders in the feeding, how much goes into those and how to change that, how to have less sliders, so rather than having 4, maybe you only want 2 or 3, how to change feeding from the parallel that you get with Maize Plus to cereal, like a lot of the animals are in base game. So for example, with the cows you would have had TMR, hay and grass with descending priority. So if you gave them TMR, they would eat TMR only and it would give them 100% health. If you only gave them hay, you'd get 80% health. So how to implement that again with TMR, how to customize the recipes and how to add custom items from other mods into the recipes. I know I did touch on customizing the recipes in the previous video, but I didn't really cover how to add custom items in, for example, the waste potatoes from Dazed Potato mods. So we're going to cover how to add that in TMR. There's a couple of extra steps there. Then going to have a look at how much animals eat. So there is a calculator available on the Maize Plus Discord for the settings as we deliver the mod, but I'm going to show you how to maybe reduce that, because I know for a lot of people they don't like how much extra their cows eat. And I think that's everything that I can think of for customizing feeding. I'm going to demonstrate everything with cows because they eat a lot and it covers every topic. Before you start doing any of this, take a backup of the version of Maize Plus that you're using, so that if you make any mistakes you can go back to it. So copy it to another directory on your computer. If you go into Mod Hub, once you've made these changes, it will tell you that you need to update Maize Plus because it's different to the version available on Mod Hub. If you do that, you will remove all your changes. There are likely to be future updates to Maize Plus, and if it does update properly, that will be shown on Mod Hub on the Giants website, and it will be posted on Discord. And in that case, you would have to re-implement the changes that you've made. If Maize Plus gets updated before you update to the newest version off of Mod Hub, copy the version you have to another folder again, and then it'll make it easy for you to copy and paste your changes in again for things like feeding mixtures and that kind of thing. I think that's all of the details. So let's have a look at changing what goes into the feed bars for the cows. So my cows currently have some food. We're going to be doing all of this in Notepad++. So I will see you out in the mods folder in a second. So we are in the mods folder, and what you want to do is open up the Maize Plus Animal Food Additions and then Maize Plus Animal Food.xml. So you probably want 7-zip and Notepad++. It's what I tend to use anyway. So first things first, what goes into the 4 feed bars. We'll stick with 4 at the moment. I'm going to do each topic separately. So if you want a different topic, try jumping ahead in the video. So you'll see for each of the animal types currently, each one has 4 sliders that are set up to eat in parallel. So it takes food from each of the sliders weighted by the numbers that are here. So cows, for example, will eat 40% of their food from the silage bar or base food bar, 30% from the hay, 20% from the moisture food, and 10% from the power food. And that gives you an idea of how much you need to put in the trough of each as well. So you want mostly silage and hay if you're feeding cows. So if we wanted to change what was in there, I mean, we could, for example, just start with, you know, some really basic stuff like we could add in clover silage into the silage bar. If you're on a map that had clover, maybe you wanted to use clover silage in there, nice and easy. Now let's say you wanted to add a custom fill type from another mod. Adding it to the sliders is very easy. Adding it to the TMR is a bit more involved, but we'll get to that in the future. So I have Dazed Seed Potato Factory here, and I find the easiest way to get the right fill type name is to go into the mod. So we're going to get waste potato. I did this before if you've seen that previous video, and we're going to stick those in the moisture food. So So we can now put waste potatoes in the moisture food, and we can put clover silage in the silage bar. So let's save that with Control S. Then we're going to close this, and close that, and where it says update the archive, you want to click yes, and I'll see you in the game. Okay, so we've just reloaded the game. Currently the cow's feeding troughs is empty. Just wanted to say as well that these questions or things that I'm covering are, I think, mostly the questions and comments that I've seen in the MaizePlus Discord or comments on my videos, and I will get to as many of them as I can from the topics that I've listed. So you can see the waste potatoes are now going in as moisture food. And then over here from our friends at Oifel Hay, which was Paul, the alien Paul, we have some clover silage. So we're going to take that over as well. And that's gone into our base food or silage. So that's how to customize what goes into the sliders. If you're changing that, as long as you're not deleting things, you do not need to worry about changing anything to do with TMR. Okay, next one, changing how much they eat. So if you're in an area, for example, where cows eat mostly hay rather than silage, maybe the cows, only eat a tiny bit of silage and mostly hay. Let's have a look at how to change that. Again, we need to go back out to the mods folder. So back in the mods folder again, we're going to go back into the animal food additions, and then we are going to go back into the MaizePlus animal food.xml. You need to save and close this file and update the archive every time so that it takes the changes that you make in the game. And I'm going to keep the changes that were made so far, and here we're going to say, let's say the cows in wherever you live eat 60% hay. And maybe 20% silage, and then 10% of the other foods. What you would really want to do as well, if you're making this kind of change, so you want to set the production weights and the eat weights the same, just to keep it simple. For the TMR recipes, I would go down and reflect those changes as well, so that when you put TMR in, if you put TMR in, it fills the bars up to the right amount. So you'll see that the weights in here match the eat and production weights up here. This just means that when you put TMR in, it fills the bars to the same amount. And what you could do, you could have these different. So you could have a TMR that was mostly hay, that put more into the hay slider. And I said this was a complete guide, but there are so many permutations that you could pick that I can't show absolutely everything. But that's all our TMR updated to match up to how we have changed the food here. So now our cows are going to eat 20% silage, 60% hay, 10% moisture food, 10% power food, and our TMR is going to provide 20% silage, 60% hay, 10% moisture food, 10% power food. So again, save. I use Control S to save, close, update the archive. Let's reload the game. Yes. So we are back in the game, and if we open the menu up now, you can see that we've changed it so that base food is 20%, which is the silage, hay is 60%, and the other two are 10%. The easiest way I think to demonstrate this is I have a trailer full of TMR, which we will put in. Hopefully I don't have too much trouble with the roof. Didn't put the extension on, so that we should be okay, hopefully. And I'll just show you the fact that they're eating mostly from. So if we look now, you'll see that mostly they've got hay in with little bits of the others. And if we speed up time a little bit so that they actually take some of that food, you should see they all go down by a proportionate amount. I'm not saying this is how you should change it. This is how you can change it. See, there we go. So they've all gone down by proportionate amounts based on how much they eat. So the next thing you might think is, well, I want to have the option of, I just want to feed either hay or silage, and then maybe one of these others. So how do I have less sliders? I don't want to have 4 sliders. 4 is too many for me. I want to simplify things. So let's go back out of the game. I'm going to revert back to the standard settings for MaizePlus, so we can do this just because it'll make it a little bit easier. And yeah, we'll set that up. Yeah, I've just downloaded a fresh copy of the animal food editions because I think this one will be easier starting from the beginning. So pretty basic setup. What I'm going to do is I'm going to combine the hay and the silage bars. So let's, for you don't have you feed either. So we're going to just with that, we'll keep the same fill types. So we're going to copy. And we're going to paste those up there. We're then going to delete this bar. And we're going to set both of those to 0.7 so that they add up to 1. I would do the same down here as well, personally, just for neatness. I know it says not to change that, but maybe won't. I'm a bad person. Changing the ratios doesn't matter, so we could just change. No, we're going to leave that on. But for these others, we're going to delete it and put that to 0.7. 0.7. Now what that will mean is that if you mix base game TMR, you might get slightly different behavior. You might actually get the same behavior because it's got both fill types in, so it should put 40% silage and 30% hay. So in theory it should be okay, but I've not tested this. This is some stuff that I know how to do, but I haven't done because it's not how I set MaizePlus up. But some people want to see how to do these kind of things, so I'm going to demonstrate it for you guys. So again, save, close, update, and let's reload the game. So to demonstrate this one, I have got 2 forage wagons with different silage mixtures in. So this one's got the realistic mix in. It's a very simple realistic mix. And this one's got the base game mix in. Just so we can test those 2 different ways of changing the forage mix that I did. And then if we look in here, you'll now see that for the cows, we've got base food is 70%. So that was our silage and our hay. Moisture food is 20% and power food is 10%. And if we jump in here, these mixtures should both fill all of the bars, I think. So if we hit the unload button, and there we go. Yep. That seems to have worked. Nice. Yeah, it's done it pretty... Yeah, that has worked. So you didn't actually need to edit the forage mix in this case. But if you'd done things differently, you possibly would have. So... And if we jump in here, you should see the same effect. There's just 2 different ways of achieving the TMR thing, but mainly the difference here is we're changing what goes in the bars, and I will show you that as well. So, yep, they've filled up the same, which is nice. Because we put in 15,000 litres, yeah. Awesome. And then I can just show you as well. So if we buy a bale of hay, at the moment we've got 10,500 litres in our base food, and we've now got 15. And then if we buy some silage, this will be whole crop silage, because it's base game silage, which is turned into whole crop silage. And see that that has gone against the base food as well. So now, what if you want 3 sliders, but you want it to look like it did in base game? Let's have a look at changing it so that they take from 1 bar in order of priority rather than all of the bars at the same time. So this one took a bit longer to implement than I thought, because there are some slightly more significant changes. So I'm going to talk you through them rather than actually doing them, and I still need to make a couple of last minute changes where I am learning stuff. So yeah, this has been an interesting exercise in deepening my understanding of how feeding works in MaizePlus, already pushing my understanding. So the first thing we're going to do is change the consumption type to cereal. That means they will eat from the first bar until it's empty, then the second bar, then the third bar. I have manually renamed these because I got to the point where I couldn't be bothered to look up the L10N texts to do it neatly. You're doing it for yourself anyway, so you can call them whatever you want. So I've got TMR, hay, and grass. And then we've just got the production weights. So if we feed them TMR, they have 100% productivity, hay 80%, grass 30%. And then for the fill types, we've got all 5 of the different forage fill types, which correspond to the 5 different TMR recipes that are available. We've then got dry grass windrow here in the hay one, and then grass windrow in the grass one. Now for the really important bits. You need to comment out all of the section for forage mixes. So forage 2, forage 3, forage 4, and forage 5. I would comment out the mixture for power food because you can't use that now anyway. And then you also need to comment out the wet grass windrow and grass windrow mixtures because you can't use those either. So grass windrow was to do with grazing and parallel feeding. Grazing will still work, it will now only feed the grass bar, and the wet grass windrow one is irrelevant for this change. So yeah, this whole section you need to comment out. The way to do that is to select it and then go in to edit and comment and just select single line comment, and that will do it for you. Nice and easy. So you might want to pause the screen and copy out that bit maybe. Yeah, you could if you wanted to feed hay and silage, you could put the different silage types in here, but I'm just going to leave it as this for now. So let's go have a look how it looks and behaves in the game. Actually, first let's save it and close it and update the archive, and then we'll go look. So back in the game, first things, let's have a look in the menu. So you can now see we have 3 bars. TMR 100% effectiveness, hay 80%, grass 30%. One thing that doesn't seem to have changed is the capacity for these 3 is still equal to the total capacity. So if you want to feed TMR, put TMR in first, because otherwise you won't have space for the others. So I have a trailer full of TMR here, and that is going to pretty much fill up the slider all the way to the top. I have quite a lot of cows in here, and they're quite mature, so they do eat a lot because I'm playing on 1 day months. So you would need to feed multiple times, but you can see here that the 29,500 litres of TMR we've put in has filled most of the slider. So if you're doing this, you might want to increase the capacity of the pen. I'm just going to cheat some hay in as well. There we go, some hay. So if we put that in now, you'll see that we soon run out of space to put in hay. There we go. And then if I get past the trailer, so at the moment we've got 29,500 litres of TMR and 4 and a bit thousand litres of hay. If I speed up time, so we go past the hour, so the cows eat, they should just eat the TMR. And there we go. So they've just taken TMR from the shed. Their health will start to increase over time, and so will their productivity. So yep, that is doing that one. Not as simple as I had hoped. If I just skip ahead a bunch of time just to empty the troughs, just to show you how the grazing works. And one of the nice things about grazing is it will only feed to fill to 25%. So if you had grazing enabled, you would still have space to put your TMR in, but you would have grazing catching it if you ran out of food. I'm playing on 1 day months, which is a really bad way to demonstrate Maize Plus with how much cows eat. But so if we put in some meadow grass, so the cows have got something to graze off of. If you want to know about setting up grazing, I have a couple of videos on that on the channel already, so go check those out. And again, we just need to speed up time to progress past the hour so that the cows can take some grass for grazing. So there we go. So we'll now see that they have grass, and it's only filled up a little bit of the bar. They'll have eaten some of that 25% that went in, so you've got space to put TMR or hay in. So we could jump back in the Landini, and we've got some space to put some hay. That was painful. I don't know why you would have Maize Plus running and want your feeding like that, but if you do, that's how you do it. Next, we're going to have a look at customizing TMR. So I'm going to put Maize Plus back to the default settings, or the annual food additions back to the default settings, and we'll get into doing some custom TMR. So I'm going to look at basically, I've done a video on setting up a custom TMR mixture, so I'm going to do a quick rough custom TMR mixture, and we're going to look at adding waste potatoes into the TMR mix. I actually got donuts enabled as well, so maybe we can add donuts in as well. And I'll show you how to link that all properly as well. So back out to the mods folder again. So slight change of plan. It seems like I can't get waste potatoes or donuts to go into the mixer. I think it's due to the way those two fill types are set up. So I'm going to show you how to do it with some base game fill types that aren't included yet, because I know that should work. It's just down to, yeah, just couldn't get them to go into the mixer, so not sure why. Could be a me thing. I you know, not perfect at doing this kind of stuff. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to customize the TMR, add in fill types that aren't included by default, and we're going to set up a TMR that only meets part of the feed requirements. You may or may not want to do this. It's just something that occurred to me as an idea. We're going to use forage 5, and what we're going to do is we're going to set it up so that it doesn't contribute to the hay requirement. So we're going to select that line of the mixture. I'm going to press Ctrl K, which will comment that line out. We're then going to customize forage 5, and I want it to be based on maize and grass silage. So I'm going to replace the hay and the silage lines with those. And then we're going to add in a group that's going to be cereal based. So I'm going to put in wheat. I'm going to be slightly lazy and just call it wheat. So this is basically putting in unprocessed grain. So we're going to have wheat, barley, and oats. So we'll be able to pick from any of those, and it can be 25%. Okay, so that's the first bit. We're going to save that. What I will cover, actually, if you're editing the TMRs, you don't need necessarily to edit these. If you do, you need to make sure that the fill types that you put in here are in at least one of the sliders in the cow feed. So for example, silage is in the silage slider for cows, dry grass windrow is in the roughage slider, sugar beet cut is in the moisture food, and mineral feed is in the power food. If you've got a fill type in here that's not in one of the bars up here, it will crash the game. So just so you know. And RTMR will only fill 3 of the 4 bars now. So that's the first bit done. So we're going to save that. We're going to close it. We're going to update the archive. And then we're going to go into MaizePlus, into the XML folder, into the fill types folder. And we need to scroll all the way down to the bottom. And you'll see there's a mixer wagon fill type category here. And you'll see that wheat, barley and oats are not included. So we're going to add them in. So we're going to do wheat, space, barley, space, oat. And there we go. We should be able to save that and close it and update the archive and reload the game. So we're back in the game. Yeah, this is not quite the result that I had wanted. I had wanted to have TMR with waste potatoes and donuts in, but alas, that was not to be. You can add, we will have seen we have put waste potatoes in the feed troughs, but not in TMR at the moment. I do not understand why that was. I'm not an expert on all the fill types and stuff like that and how they behave. So yeah, we instead have a TMR we can put wheat, barley and oats into. If you've got other mods with other custom fill types, try it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Do it in a test save, you'll be fine. So we need some grass silage and some maize silage, and then we'll use Doika fill point to put in some grain. So this is not about realism, and it may not be exactly what you want to achieve. It's about giving you the tools to achieve that. It's taken me a very long time to get all this recorded, so yeah. Mainly sorting out that simplifying the feeding to cereal feeding was not simple. And we're now feeding cereal, but not cereal that way. So yeah, this is the Doika grain buy point, Doika food buy point, which is included with MaizePlus. And hopefully, there we go, we can put some wheat in. And if we stop that there, we have a TMR, and I'll jump out so you can see, which is 17% wheat, and then 40-ish% of the other two. So if I now head on over, we will just see that it only fills 3 of the bars. So the cow feed is empty at the moment. The cow trough is empty at the moment. And there we go. So you would still need to feed hay separately with this because there is no hay in the mixture. So just to demonstrate that as well. Let's run back over here. And we have one last thing to cover. Which I know is a pet hate of some people, which is reducing how much the cows eat with MaizePlus. I'm going to show you a very quick shortcut to reducing that. I'll talk about how options for doing it, but I'll show you one very quick way. And there we go. We have hay in there as well. So that's that one. Customizing TMR, another way. Last one. Let's go show you how to reduce how much the cows eat. And this will work for any other animal as well. For the last time, we are back in the mods folder. MaizePlus Animal Food Editions, and this time we're going into the Animal Data Override, and this is what controls straw, food, water consumption, and outputs like milk, manure, slurry, and that kind of thing. And this is where you can see the really big numbers for cows for feeding. There are a couple of ways you can change this. You could go through and adjust these numbers individually, so you could maybe knock a 0 off the end. But in my view, you need to do that for everything. So, you know, if you're putting in 10 times less food, you get 10 times less milk out. Make sense? So what you could do you could go through and do all that if you wanted, and that's fine. You just delete some of these, delete some zeros or whatever, change the numbers however you want them. You could change it so that your cows produce milk all the way through if you wanted. So from 0 years old, they could produce 1,000 litres of milk a month. What I would suggest for balance is to start here, go all the way down to there, and hit delete. So you've just got these two lines, animal data override, and then the animal data override close. Okay, you need both of those for it to work. What that will do is that will give you the feeding of MaizePlus, which is a little bit more, but not crazy more, and you get a little, you put a little bit more milk in, a little bit more food in, for example, you get a little bit more milk out. The changes are really quite small. So we've saved it, closed it, update the archive, and jump back into the game. So reloaded the game. I've just filled up the cow's trough. It's not perfectly balanced, but it'll do. And I've got 45 28-month-old cows in here, so they are fully mature. We're on 1 day months, so they're at 33,750 litres of food. Let's just see what they eat in a month, shall we? If you were playing with proper animal food additions, those cows would have eaten that food in less than a month. You'd be looking at a couple 100,000 litres a month to feed those cows. But, you know, we've used less than half of the bar. So, yeah. If you want to, yeah, that's a really quick way of reducing the feed requirement. You can obviously go through individually in each breed of animal, each type of animal, and adjust them yourself if you want. As I said, you can play with the numbers. If you just wanted to change how the cows were, you could just delete the individual bits of cows. That is up to you. Again, just giving you the tools to do this stuff. As long as you back it up, just have a play. You can't break it that badly editing the XML. You can always download a fresh copy. So, or you know, you've got a fresh copy backed up, you just copy that in and crack on. Don't be afraid of playing with XML. It's really not that complicated. And that is everything I wanted to cover, finally. The only one that didn't work quite as well as I'd hoped was the custom TMR stuff. I had not tested putting waste potatoes and donuts into the TMR mix, and it turns out I couldn't. But we did put some grain in, and if you've got other mods with other custom field types, just try them. If they work, awesome. If they don't, it's kind of tough at the moment. The waste potatoes we did put into the feed trough, and we put something else in as well that I've forgotten because it's been a very long afternoon. If you found this video useful, please click the like button. If you've got questions, then stick a comment below. There'll be a link to my Discord and the MaizePlus Discord where you can ask questions. If you're not already and you've made it this far, subscribe, turn on notifications. I do loads of videos like this. Yeah, and if you really like MaizePlus, go rate it 5 stars on ModHub. If you really, really, really like it, there are some links below to show your support to the team or individuals within the team that have helped with all of this stuff. I want to say thank you to all of my YouTube channel members and patrons, and to the guy who brought me some coffee. I'm not going to say a name just in case you don't want me to, but thank you for those. I had missed it when you did that, and it took me a little while to notice because I hadn't been checking that website. So yeah, do appreciate that. Thank you for the coffees. They are so badly needed at the moment. And that's it. I will see you next time.